We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, and we're about to turn the calendar to June. Of course, that means official visits starting this weekend and ramping up all the way through June. So it's time to talk a little bit of recruiting right here on Gators Breakdown. We'll highlight this first official visit weekend and a little bit of other recruiting news right here, but plenty to get into in the world of recruiting, specifically this class of 2025 coming up. So hit that like button, subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown if you haven't done so yet, whether you're watching on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe on both of those. But if you're right here on YouTube, hit that like button. That really helps us out. Leave some comments. Who are you looking forward to visiting? What are you hoping to get out of this June? It probably won't be as big as a June as it was last year, of course, but still a lot of talent coming through Gainesville. So hit that like button right here, helping us out on Gators Breakdown. And of course, hey, that merch is still going to be up there, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Get those new designs. Get your Beat Miami shirt, a new design up there as well. And just general summertime vibes. They're good looking stuff there. gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Maybe you can get you a little beach look, summer wear going on, supporting us at the same time, what we do right here on Gators Breakdown. So, all right, let's get straight to it. And of course, heading into official visits, one major storyline. We'll be following through this whole process, but it really highlights it here this week too as well. Is heading into these official visits. One major storyline, of course, is fighting FSU for flipping some of their commits and battling them head-to-head for targets. One being four-star edge Javion Hilson, kind of the headliner, I would say so, this weekend from Cocoa, who committed to FSU. He's currently committed to FSU. He stated that Florida is the team that's trying to flip him the hardest. The Gators really full court press here, although he's been committed to Florida State since he flipped from Alabama in January. Hasn't stopped him from visiting, communicating with other schools, Florida being one of those, of course. Florida hosted Hilson on campus in the spring, and he will have an extended stay in Gainesville this weekend. So the effort to recruit him has been a team effort from Florida. Head coach Billy Napier involved, co-defensive coordinator Austin Armstrong, outside linebacker coach Mike Peterson, and off-field staffer Lewis McLeod in daily contact. So Hilson recently ranked the Gators as his third option behind Texas and Florida State. So some work to be done. Some ground to make up for the Gators. Strong impressions this weekend. Crucial for any chance of flipping him from the Seminoles. Four-star defensive lineman Myron Charles reports Charlotte. A few months ago, Charles identified that Florida State's probably his leader with a significant lead over other schools at that time. However, after his second visit to Florida this year, the gap between Florida State and other universities began to narrow a little bit. Florida's gained some traction, but remains uncertain, of course, if that's going to be enough. Initially, the Gators were not a top choice at all for Charles, but this was changed in January when he visited for the first time, and Gerald Chapman became a part of the defensive coaching staff, of course, at the defensive line coach. So Chapman's consistency, that consistent contact, and the attention that he is just showing Charles makes Charles feel valued. So Florida making a strong push here. Currently probably believe that it still may be difficult to surpass Florida State in the end here, but the Gators have made a lot of progress. Still a long way to go. Another Florida State battle there. So four-star offensive tackle, maybe not as much of a battle between the two, but Florida State in the mix here because looks like Florida's made up a whole lot of ground for offensive tackle Zaire Addison from Riverview Sumner. Florida seems to be gaining the most momentum in recent, I say month or so. Two big, impactful spring visits, including one for the Orange and Blue game. But Addison has several official visits scheduled and recently took his trip to UCLA. Doesn't appear to be in any hurry, but Florida's been making big strides in this one lately. Prior to his 2 visits to Florida in April, Florida wasn't considered major contender much at all in Addison's recruitment, but he included them, the Gators, among his top schools. But realistically, the Gators were pretty behind when he made that list. No longer the case right here. So Addison continues to consider 9 schools, but Florida's position has significantly improved. Some Williams Day Florida leads right now. So he's already made official, I said, to UCLA, to Georgia as well already. Got trips to Penn State, Oregon, Florida State planned for June. So the Gators began to climb the ranks following 2 impressive visits, as I mentioned, in the spring. Well, of course, the question remains, can they maintain the momentum? Can they make further progress this weekend? Keep chipping away, but certainly big position of need, high-level offensive tackle here with Addison. Hopefully Florida can get that one there. Another potential battle between the Gators and the Noles could arise from the pursuit of 4-star wide receiver Joshua Moore from West Broward. Moore's top 4 choices are Florida, Florida State, Miami, and Georgia, all of whom he plans to visit officially this summer. No clear favorites right now. So the Gators, of course, first visit, chance to make a strong impression here. Standing at nearly 6'4", Moore has the size that wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez really values. We know that. He likes his big receivers. Has gotten some speedy guys in the last cycle. Had some speedy guys when he walked in the door now. And, we've chronicled getting a big body receiver again in this class. Could be more here. We know Billy Gonzalez really values that type of receiver. So Moore keeps his thoughts close to his vest. So it appears, all these schools that Florida's in competition for, not really sure where they stand. There's a lot of competition as he prepares for his visit. So Florida's pursuing several large-bodied receivers this cycle. We've mentioned Cornelius Ingram as well. Of course, the legacy. He's one of those as well. So Moore is reportedly well-regarded within the organization. Florida looking for a couple of those big-body receivers. Might be another Florida State battle. They're in this one as well. So the way it should be, right? In Florida State battles, there'll be another one, maybe for 3-star Newberry defensive lineman Jarquez Carter. He named Florida, Florida State, Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, and UCF his top schools. There's 6 schools, all in his top 6. He named them this week. So at the moment, the Gators right now are probably the clear favorites to secure Carter's commitment. Although Carter intends to take his time with the recruiting process, Florida has been pretty aggressive in courting him, living close. That proximity, that's really allowed Florida to host Carter on campus several times this year. That has gone a long way here in making Florida probably the leader in the clubhouse for Carter. We know things can change, but Carter's particularly interested. He come out and said in how schools will utilize their defensive linemen in their strategies. What does he want to see on the field? That might be why this takes some time. He might want to see the defense on the field, especially with the changes Florida has. Ron Roberts coming in, Chapman, the defensive line coach up front, who would be his position coach. There's some question. So he sees himself as a pass rushing defender. So we'll see how that goes. But he wants a demonstration of how he can fit, where he can be positioned on the front lines of the defense. So this is a pretty crucial weekend, I think, to reinforce how they'll use him, but not really in a hurry. It seems like, the Gators have that current advantage. They would need to persuade Carter to revise his timeline, maybe reconsider taking those other trips this summer as well to secure his commitment this weekend. But this is one where should feel pretty good, but may drag on for a little while. But a soft commitment watch, maybe. Florida can press the right buttons here. Certainly one to look for, though. One of the more interesting recruitments is quarterback Antoine Hill from Georgia. This one has certainly calmed down a bit since it's kind of known he wants to play as early as he can. And that would be tough with DJ Lagway being the heir apparent here for the Gators. Memphis is trending here due to how hard the Tigers are recruiting Hill. I would not count Florida State out. And, of course, I think that would have a lot to do with, we'll get into this storyline a little bit more as well, Tramel Jones. If he flips from Florida, that would have to happen first. But, as I'm talking about Florida State battles, I'd put FSU a little on the outside looking in just because of the situation. It's Florida, Memphis right now. Of course, Hill's going to be on campus this weekend. But you got to think Memphis leads here. He just does not like the quarterback situation at Florida. He wants the opportunity to play as a true freshman. Memphis offers that, or at least play early. But with DJ Lagway here, he's not going to do that. And look, that's not a sign of I'm not going to label the kid afraid of competition. No, he wants to play early. Great. At least he's honest with himself. And I'm not saying, he doesn't want to compete or anything like that. But at least he's honest with himself that it's going to be really hard to beat DJ Lagway out. And we've seen it all. I don't think it means the kid is afraid of competition, but you only get one chance at this. Now, I only mean one chance at playing college football. Of course, you get many chances to go to different schools, but you only get one chance at playing college football. If he doesn't want to come and sit behind DJ Lagway, I don't blame him. So it would be a hard sell. It really would be. So, I don't think Florida's stressing, quarterback recruiting this cycle. They want a quarterback for sure, but don't know. And we know what it means to go get a big name quarterback right now, and the NIL obligations probably for that. If you're Florida, do you really want to go spend on a quarterback when they're going to be sitting on the bench for the next few years? Yeah. So Florida, Memphis, that's the two teams Hill has mentioned most consistently. Only 2 planned official visits at this time. So as likely quarterbacks in this class, Hill would be ranked behind, I think, Keelan Russell from Texas, Tramel Jones from Mandarin here in Jacksonville. So I think that's the way he'll be on campus. Just would not expect the way it's looking right now for Florida to be the choice. But he's on campus. He's visiting this weekend. Never know. But I just don't see him him changing his mind of sitting behind DJ Lagway. All right, let's keep it going. Linebacker, Christian Gass. That's a name gaining momentum in the last month or so. 6'4" linebacker from Georgia was on campus twice this spring. Expressed high praise for the Gators. Quote, moved up a lot in his recruitment, as he has said recently. His stature, of course, reminiscent of Florida's Grayson Howard. That's a comparison the staff has made towards him. Discussing, his projected fit during a recent visit was a significant highlight for him, how he fits into this defense. The Gators are prioritizing Gass with Ron Roberts, of course, as he's kind of in that middle linebacker group, kind of leading that group. But that's made a significant difference here in this recruiting. Ron Roberts showing his interest in Gass. So Gators stand a real chance here. Official visits, of course, Florida this weekend, USC coming up, Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee. Seems like other schools as well. So USC, Kentucky, throw Kentucky in that mix as well. So he plans to make his decision before his senior season begins. So these summer visits will go a long way in getting linebacker. Excuse me. Getting the linebacker, of course, Christian Gass. Let's keep it going right here. Jarquez Carter, we discussed him on maybe being on commit watch, but not as close as the next couple of targets from the Jacksonville area. First up, 3-star tight end Tayshawn Gelsey from Jacksonville, Riverside, who was just offered last week from the staff. Seems to be going pretty well already. The Gators want 2 tight ends this cycle. Gelsey is likely to be one of them, and it might be soon. While just getting offered, the communication has been there for a bit, so it's not new. Just that offer is. He's been recruited as a hybrid tight end athlete, so that could be a mismatch in the passing game. Of course, Amir Jackson just getting on campus for Florida as well, but Florida wanting a couple of tight ends, probably one of the receiving type this class, one of more the blocking type, of course. But Gelsey right here from Jacksonville, right up the road, visiting this weekend, certainly on commit watch. Next up, 3-star DB Caleb Singleton out of Orange Park, Fleming Island in the Jacksonville area. Since Will Harris has joined the staff, the three-star prospect has become a priority target. Singleton has visited Florida more than any other place. Has been to campus 3 times just this year. The Gators are considered a team to beat. There's confidence in Gainesville on this one. Singleton currently has summer official visits scheduled to Rutgers, Syracuse, and Florida. Singleton also holds offers from Kentucky, Texas A&M, LSU. Corey Raymond offered him here at Florida, has since re-offered there with the Tigers at LSU. So Will Harris appreciates Singleton's versatility in the defensive backfield, but it is more than likely a safety the way they see him right now. But he is versatile. So you'll see what plays out down the road. Harris has been joined by Billy Napier and Austin Armstrong in recruiting Singleton. So despite the lower star rating, the staff seems really high here. Pair that with how close, Gainesville is to home. Confidence is high in this one. Singleton recently ran a 10.54 in the 100-meter. So Gelsey won't be the only tight end visiting, as 3-star Micah Jones from Mississippi will also be on campus. Right now, Florida is his only scheduled visit. Russ Callaway's been on him pretty hard. This will be his 4th trip to the Swamp this weekend. Now, from Mississippi, those Mississippi schools want him. That's usually a hard pull. But Florida's the only official visit, but of course, he's in the state of Mississippi. Those are easy trips to make. But we'll see where that one goes. 2 tight ends on campus this weekend. We know Florida wants multiple. See where it goes from there. All right, to close this out for the visits this weekend, there's some commits on campus as well. Jeremiah McLeod, which I don't know if you guys noticed or not, a newly minted 4-star on the 24/7 Sports Composite. I've told you the guy, he will probably rise in the rankings. I think he will continue to do so. But when he's a 3-star when he committed to Florida, a newly minted 4-star on the 24/7 Sports Composite. He'll also be on campus with fellow running back Chad Gasper. Expect those guys to certainly wear their recruiting caps this weekend. So there you go. There's your look at your official visits this weekend. Some, not a huge star-studded list, but some, like I said, important battles with Florida State for some 4-stars. And, we'll see where it goes from there. Interesting with Antoine Hill. That's probably the biggest name, of course, that's just known out there. Just don't think that was trending Florida too much here. So in case you missed it, Vernell Brown III, of course, visit coming up later on in June, but the Gators were named a finalist along with Florida State, Ohio State, and Miami. But with this one, he's been doing a lot of interviews lately, especially with the On3 event going on in Nashville. Ohio State, of course, looked like the leader for a while, but in-state, Florida State may actually be the leaders right now. And he's kind of admitted that. He does visit Ohio State this weekend, so of course, keep an eye on that. We know how that can go. But word is he'd rather stay in state. Florida flipping Tramel Jones from Florida State would really help here. They play 7-on-7 together here in the state of Florida, so there's a relationship. Brown mentioned the staff is doing a great job recruiting him despite the Gators not being as good on the football field. The plan is to have a decision made in June. So these visits are coming up, starting with Ohio State this week. And then you got the other schools that are in the mix getting visits as well. So got to knock the visit out of the park. Seems like a lot of the legwork's been done here already. But, for Florida, this one did not look likely at one time. So credit the staff, all involved here. And the Gators squarely in this one now. When it looked kind of dim at one point, there's some talk of, the legacy. You can't let him get away. They're trying to keep that separate. Of course, Vernell Brown III has been to Gainesville plenty of times, in the Swamp plenty of times, living in Gainesville, dad part of the staff. I mean, it's just been there. But certainly, I'd say look bleak a few months ago. Was always in this one, not totally out of it. But Florida is squarely in it now. Big time battle, I think. Florida State for this one. As I said, can flip Tramel Jones anytime soon. I mean, I think Florida could pull him anyway. I'm not saying Florida's the pick right now. I'm just saying let it play out. I do think Florida would have a chance without Tramel Jones, but I certainly think if you could flip him from Florida State, it would certainly help the Gators here. But what's the timeline of that? That's something that happens during the season. We know Brown wants to commit in June. So is that something worth waiting? Something worth waiting on? To see if Jones flips or not. Interesting storyline there with that one. And then let's jump ahead a little bit. I know some of you don't want to do that, but 2026 cornerback from Tampa, Jalen Waters, great last name, by the way. He deserves a 5-star there. But Jalen Waters, decommitted from Florida State. Florida looked the likely flip spot right now. Top 200 overall player, had always liked Florida, but communication with Florida didn't really ramp up until Will Harris got on campus and made him a priority. His commitment to Florida State was only on April 23rd, not long ago. That was shaky at best at the time. There was always some confidence Florida could get him if pressed. We'll see where this ends up, but have to like Florida's chances right here. Of course, I know it's a 2026 target. Many of you don't even look that far ahead, but it's a storyline. A lot can happen here before it's all said and done. We know that. But showing, I think it still shows for a top player like this that there's plenty of interest in Florida, despite the record, despite the narrative out there of how shaky this regime is heading into the 2024 season. I mean, with Jalen Wiggins committed in this cycle for Florida, one of the top defenders there, and then let's peek ahead to 2026 with Jalen Waters here and some interest. I mean, we got to see it all play out on the field. Florida can build this thing up and it can all come crashing down once again like it did last year. But at the same time, interest is still there. I think the staff knows how to recruit. I really do. Now they've got to just pair some wins with it and they'll be A-okay. But, easier said than done. I know that. But Waters really, really, like I said, liked Florida for a long time. For whatever reason, just before Will Harris, communication just wasn't there. Harris comes on campus and starts to make a lot of work here. So I'd be surprised. I don't know if a timeline on this or anything, but be surprised if Jalen Waters doesn't eventually flip to Florida sometime soon. All right, there we go. Quick little update heading into this weekend. Couldn't really let you guys go this week without some type of recruiting talk. Was trying to, if I would have done this episode on Wednesday, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have had to be pushed to Thursday just because a little under the weather on Wednesday. Might can hear it in my voice a little bit. Thankfully, I haven't been sniffling here this whole episode, but big time struggles on Wednesday. But all right, that would do it right here, giving you a preview of this big visit weekend. Let's get the ball rolling on recruiting a bit. Don't think it'll be as big as last June, but there's some big names Florida's in for that can still make a big difference. I don't think that you can get some big names this June. The high number that we saw last year, no, that many of players committing in June, certainly don't expect that. Doesn't mean you can't get some big players to go ahead and commit, pledge to the Gators. We know, I know. It's not binding. You don't have to remind me of all that. But let's just ride the wave. Let's just go. Let's just see where it goes. See where it goes. No shame in just taking it as it comes. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. If it changes, it changes. Going to celebrate it all the same. Going to be disappointed all the same. If it's good or bad. So there we go. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.